I want to talk about Concord. I wasn't going to ever talk about this game again. Because who really gives a shit?
The gift that keeps giving. This one comes from Last Stand Media. Colin do be spitting some fire here. He verified his source, which came forth with some more information about Concord. And I initially saw this 9-minute clip on X, and then I end up cleaning up the transcription and put it up in some bullet points, which we're going to go through in a second. I looked for the full podcast episode, linked everything below. So let's have a look into it. So here's the abridged version. Colin says, I want to talk about Concord, and the information comes from a verified source. The story goes that Concord entered alpha state in 2023. Sony hadn't yet purchased the team, although already been working with Probably Monsters. By that time, they had already spent about 200 million on it. However, it's unclear how much of that money is from original investors and how much came from Sony. We looked into the timeline for Probably Monsters and Firewalk Studios, and there was a period of time where they opened for investors, and maybe Sony threw in a couple million there, or it was brought into Sony's attention and they got interested in a product. Then Colin takes a breather to explain minimum viable product, which is a product with enough features that can attract early adopter customers and help validate a product idea early in the product development cycle. Sort of hyping up the product in a way. Sony spent another 200 million to make the project viable. The gossip behind the scenes was that the game was in a laughable shape when it was shown, and Sony started outsourcing game studios to finish building the game out. And $1 million question is, which studios? I want to know. This game costed a lot more than other titles such as Last of Us and Spider-Man 3 and ended up losing the 1 million gross revenue it made since it was all given back through refunds. We also talked about this, and let me reiterate, it is scary the way Sony can just go into your PlayStation and delete a game even if you didn't refund it. Gonna leave it at that. Food for thought. But why? Sony ends up buying the team, and Concord is being presented as the future of PlayStation. They had a major ambition for this game, and it was being referred internally as a Star Wars-like project for Sony that can be repeatedly revisited over for content in cross-media, such as weekly story vignettes or Amazon's Secret Levels anthology. And I keep thinking, I don't think this is the way it works. I think people just naturally gravitate towards a project or towards a product, and they love it so much, and then that's how you build up hype. You don't build up hype from the get-go and expect people to like it, because then this can happen. Ironically, the game was codenamed Chaos. And a major thing about it, it was a readable toxic positivity vibe where you weren't allowed to say anything, nor criticizing it in a negatively way. And how exactly can you build up a product like this? And here's the answer, you can't. People were guessing the original 200 million figure because of how much other titles around that frame had cost, and also because I think everyone was just basing it on the cost of acquiring Firewalk Studios. So the main thing to take away from all this is that Concord costed 400 million to make. It was in horrible shape, 18 months before release, no monetization, no onboard, lack of content, outsourced to other studios to get completed. Again, which studios? Part of the future of PlayStation with heavy cross-media references and a system of toxic positivity that didn't allow for criticism. If the people at the top truly believe in something, you're not going to be able to change course, at least not from the trenches. I think people are going to hold on to this and say, see, it's not the developers' fault. It's the powers that be. It's the people up there that believe in the product, and they make all the decisions. And now it makes sense not only why they spent so much money on it, but why they bought the team, which is they believed that it was going to be the next Star Wars. The 400 million also don't include buying the Firewalk Studio team, which means that they spent 200 million trying to get the game together. They put another 200 million on top of that. And then they bought Firewalk Studios for 200 million. This is 600 million. Man, Concord is Sony's biggest release game by budget to date, and it's the biggest loss that they ever had as a company on a project before. Man, this explains a whole lot. The whole PS5 Pro thing, that seemed like it was lacking something, and I'm gonna bet it was Concord scenes that were supposed to tie some of the loose ends in that presentation. And then there was all the reviews saying that nothing has changed throughout all the builds for the game. And I'm gonna guess it was all due to toxic positivity. And this is exactly what happens when you choose to not hear the harsh truth about your content. Now, I know the same could be said about my YouTube channel, but my dude, I'm just wasting some free time here. I'm not trying to develop a 400 million game. I mean, I get pissed off when I waste 20 quid on something stupid. I can only imagine that meeting when a bunch of people sitting around the table realizing, so we just tossed away 400 millis, didn't we? Man, the Concord story is the gift that keeps giving. Thanks for tuning up for this one. Stay metal, everyone.